Sade was a beautiful soul. She was an amazing girl. I couldn't have asked for any better daughter. There was things my daughter did that many adults were not even able to accomplish in their lifetimes.
The indescribable pain a mother feels upon realizing that her daughter has been brutally murdered. This is the story from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where a passionate 19-year-old girl had her life violently taken on April 1st, 2024. The girl had spent the evening at a local bar and restaurant on what seemed like an ordinary date. But after the date ended, surveillance footage would capture her leaving with her companion, getting into her car and driving off. It would be the last time anyone saw her alive. In the spring of 2024, 19-year-old college student Sade Robinson was employed part-time at the Pizza Shuttle in Wisconsin while attending the Milwaukee Area Technical College. A straight arrow who had never been in trouble a day in her life, she was studying to work in the field of criminal justice. On March 31st, Sade had exchanged text messages with 33-year-old bartender Maxwell Anderson, whom detectives believe she had met on a dating app. After ironing out all the details, the pair agreed to meet up for their first date at a popular seafood restaurant in the heart of Milwaukee. According to Sade's co-workers, she had been bursting with excitement when she told them about the new guy she was going out with. Security cameras captured Sade and Anderson as they dined on the evening of April 1st. After leaving the restaurant, they were picked up once again on CCTV at a sports bar, where they stayed until 9:20 p.m. Cell phone records indicated that their next move had been to Anderson's residence. Phone tracking indicated that Sade had remained at the home until 12:45 a.m. A location-sharing app revealed that she had then traveled to Warnemont Park in a suburb of Milwaukee, where she, or at least her phone, had remained until 4:30 a.m. The device's battery died 15 minutes later, effectively muddying the timeline from that point forward. The manager of the Pizza Shuttle suspected something was wrong the next morning when Sade failed to show up for her shift. A reliable worker who never missed a day without letting someone know, she was the last person he expected to pull a no-show. He tried numerous times to reach her by phone and text with no results. When no one had heard from her by closing time, they called police and requested a welfare check. When officers arrived at Sade's apartment, they could find no sign of her. Unbeknownst to them, at 5:30 p.m., a beachcomber had discovered a human leg sawed off at the hip near the water's edge at Warnemont Park. The pedicured nails, which sported bright pink polish, identified the appendage as that of a young female. Earlier that day, Sade's car was found abandoned on a residential street. A look inside revealed that the interior had been set ablaze. Fortunately, the fire had burned itself out before it could envelop the entire vehicle. The clothes she had been wearing when she was last seen were piled up in the trunk. Her charred iPhone was also recovered at the scene. Maxwell Anderson was arrested on April 4th and brought in for questioning. He denied having any knowledge of what became of Saad after their date ended. Search warrants executed on his home and car suggested otherwise. Crime scene technicians discovered blood on the sheets in Anderson's bedroom. They also found blood on the walls leading to the basement, which had been fashioned into what was later described as a sex dungeon. Hidden in the ceiling beams were various articles of women's clothing, including underwear and a brassiere. A woman's ID was also found, though it did not belong to Saad. Other damning evidence was found in and around the house. Various articles of women's clothing were discovered stashed underneath a tool bench. A sizable knife left lying in the sink was bagged and taken into evidence. Blood was found on the speakers in Anderson's vehicle in plain view. The spatters, which were on the passenger side, were later matched to Sade Robinson. On April 6th, a human foot was discovered lying beside the train tracks not far from where Sade's car had been found. The freshly polished nails were the same shade of pink as those on the severed leg. When detectives viewed CCTV footage from the area where the leg was recovered, they saw the image of a man walking down the bluff where the leg was found at 3 a.m. on the morning of April 2nd. At 7:30 a.m., convenience store cameras captured the same individual walking away from Said's burning car. When news of Said's disappearance reached the public, a woman came forward to say that she had seen a man open the vehicle's driver's side door and throw a lit cigarette lighter inside before fleeing the area on foot. A description of what he was wearing matched the clothes Anderson had worn on his date the night before. A look into Anderson's past revealed that he had prior arrests for domestic abuse, driving under the influence, and disorderly conduct. Though he had painted himself as a nice guy with old-fashioned values, it was all an act he had perfected to win the trust of women who wouldn't have normally given him the time of day. A friend of Anderson's, who also happens to be a police informant, claimed that he had been planning to kill Said ever since they first started communicating online in early March. After luring her to his home, he told his buddy that he intended to force her downstairs at gunpoint, where he would then slaughter and dismember her for no other reason than to satisfy his deviant desires. The friend, who had not come forward until after the fact, has thus far not been charged with any crimes in connection to Said's murder. His name has not been made public, presumably due to his status as a trusted informant. On April 18th, a person strolling along the Lake Michigan shoreline in Waukegan, Illinois, stumbled upon a human arm that had washed up on the beach. In May, DNA testing confirmed that the appendage belonged to Said Robinson. Although Said's body has not been found in its entirety, investigators have enough evidence to charge Maxwell Anderson with first-degree murder, abuse of a corpse, and arson. If convicted, he faces life in prison. He is currently being held on $5 million bond. A trial date is pending. Detectives are still gathering evidence in the case, which includes trying to pin down which dating app Anderson used to lure Said into his trap. Since he was active on at least 4 sites, including Tinder, OkCupid, Hinge, and Bumble, the process is taking longer than anyone expected. Given his violent history and obsession with dating apps, authorities haven't ruled out the possibility that Said wasn't his first victim. Only time will tell how many women fell under his spell, only to learn, too late, that the online charmer was actually the devil in disguise. For all you singles out there, it pays to remember that while you may think you know someone after talking to them a few times, you're really only seeing the side of them they are willing to reveal. With this in mind, always meet strangers in busy restaurants or other establishments that are well-traveled. Never, under any circumstances, should you allow them to take you to a second location. If you feel the need to continue your date elsewhere, take separate vehicles and tell someone else where you're going. Don't go to their home, and whatever you do not give them your address or place of employment until you know them like the back of your hand. While some might scoff at these precautions, those who rolled the dice and lost would agree that it's always better to be safe than sorry.